Well, one question, which is an obvious question, is should Keegan play on his own team? I think another question that's interesting is the Ryder Cup point system, which is something we're going to get into, does it need to be restructured? And I don't know the answer to that.
Are you saying that because everything seems to be geared right now towards the rich get richer with the way that the signature events give more FedEx Cup points? So if you're in a signature event, it's easier for you to stay ahead of the rest of the chasing pack. Almost like if you're in this week's Rocket Classic, you have to perform better to get anywhere near the points that a person that might be 10 spots farther down on the leaderboard or more would get at a signature event, something like that. I'm not saying the math is correct. I'm just giving an example.
Yes. All of that is exactly correct. Yes.
All right. That's interesting.
And I have examples and we have graphics and we can go over this now if you want or later. But
no. Well, let's save it because I want to get to this sound. But what was the third option for the question of the day?
I can't help but think about who's going to win the Ryder Cup. It's a lame question and it's early, but it's at the top of my brain because of Keegan. I just feel like there's an aura around him being involved in New England that just makes it feel like the U.S. team has an edge this year.
Well, it'd be in the Northeast because they're just outside of New England, but for Beth Page Black. It's not far. It's only across
So those are your three options.
Yeah, I mean, of those three, I would tell you the one that would interest me would be where the people fall on the question of whether Keegan should or should not be on his own team. And the reason why I'm saying that, because I talked about this yesterday. I talked about it before a trip, and Jim joined us. But for whatever reason, it kind of seems like the pundit establishment in golf, the talking heads, if you will, and I'm not trying to be disparaging, I'm just saying who they are. It kind of seems like that constituency is against Keegan being a playing captain. And they all reference the same thing. It's like, there's too many logistics, there's too much to do, it's too much to ask of this individual. Meanwhile, I'm always suspect when somebody else makes a judgment of what you are or are not capable of. I mean, how do they know what contingencies that you have planned with the people that you have around you? You've put those people around you for a reason, right? And to the question of Keegan, who's 9th in the points right now, I get it. There's still time. That's another thing they always say. They kind of poo-poo it by going, please, let's not talk about what's happening right now. It's so long. It's not that long. And he's shown consistent performance.
He's 7th in the world and 9th in the standings. I was talking to Andrew prior to the show about it, and it's like if he missed every cut from here to the end, then maybe he's going to drop out. But considering the way he's playing and the fact that he just won the Travelers, he will not miss every cut from here on out. So that's just not going to happen.
But you could open up a schedule right now, and you could count how many opportunities he has to miss a cut between now and when the announcements. It's not that many. 6 or 8 events. It's really not that many. So then you'd have the conversation just like we did last time when he wasn't picked and should have been, where he had won multiple times and didn't get in, which caused us to question. I mentioned this in yesterday's show. I should have had you grab some clips from those guys. They were unbelievable.
You know what? It's probably even less. Honestly, it's probably even less events than you mentioned.
Right.
Because he's playing this week at the Rocket. I would imagine he's going to take the John Deere off and then go over to the UK early to play in the Scottish and then the Open.
Well, the Scottish is a co-sanction, so he'll definitely do that.
And then in between, because he's already going to be in the playoffs, so the Barracuda, the 3M Open, and the Wyndham Championship going into the FedEx Cup playoffs, he doesn't have to play in any of those 3. My guess is he only plays in one of them. So that's this week, the Scottish, that's 2. The Open, that's 3. And then the Barracuda, the 3M, and the Wyndham, pick one of those. That's 4. And then you have 3 playoff events. That's 7. And then you're at the Ryder Cup. And that might be generous. He might not even play in 7. It might be 6.
That's why I said 6 or 8. It might be less than that, and then someone could say, well, wait a minute, well, the playoffs aren't going to have the same structure as a regular event, et cetera. So all I'm saying is if we're not talking about Keegan Bradley, call it player XYZ, and they've had the level of performance that he's had this year, and he's won this year, and in almost July, in late June at the very least, he's 9th on the standings. And what'd you tell me, 7th in the world or 8th currently?
7th in the world.
7th
right
in
now.
the world currently. If it was player XYZ, we'd all be looking at that list going, oh, yeah, that guy. And it's not because he's captain that I'm saying this. It's because he's a player that can help Team USA. And the fact that he is captain doesn't mean that he becomes part of the establishment of the mentality behind the United States Ryder Cup team. Isn't that part of what his naming was about doing something radically different? Didn't Keegan himself tell us that he always felt like an outsider? Right? He didn't have that seat at the popular table. So I don't think he didn't get a spot last time because of performance. His performance was there and better than some who were picked for the team. No, it's because he wasn't good buddies with the right guy. For better or for worse, that was part of the criteria because they wanted to match up players and skills. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here saying that that is something that should be thrown out with the wash. That's a choice that a captain makes, and they have that right to make that when they go down the road. But I am talking about Keegan and why he's there. It tells me that the PGA of America, who administers the American side of the Ryder Cup, said, folks, we need to change things up here. We need to do something different. We need to find a way to break out of whatever the mindset is that's kept us where we are. We need someone that's going to, and I said this the other day too, so forgive me, I mentioned that just so I'm not terribly redundant in your mind. But you need the person that the other players will run through a wall for. Well, in Keegan's case, he's running through that wall with you. So, I don't know.
I mean, statistically, it's even backed up, Matt. I mean, he's
ahead.
top 30 on tour. Again, if you're talking about what you were saying, just player A, right? He's top 30 on tour in strokes gained total, strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained approach to green, and strokes gained around the green. Literally, he's top 30 in all these. I mean, he's 3rd on tour in tee to green.
His finish at
he's
the
playing
Travelers,
very good golf.
his finish at the Travelers should be enough right there. Like if we were talking about,
Well,
where's Billy
There is
Horschel
a lot
on
of
the
time
rank?
between now and September, but, you know.
That's
don't know
what
about
I
that.
keep being told, and I'm not buying that. But where's Billy
Yeah,
Horschel?
but to Andrew's
in the
point
points?
before the show, Matt, the 6 events we just talked about, let's just say it's those 6. If he misses the cut in all 6, he will drop outside the top 12 on that list. Now, I'm not saying
on
that's
what the
going to
oth-
happen. I
well,
also
it
think that's
depends what the other guys
incredibly
do.
unlikely.
It depends on
But
what the other guys
that
are
could
doing.
happen.
I could see Maverick holding on. I would love to see Andrew Novak bump up there if his rib is okay, and he played pretty well with the rib injury. Frankly, I don't care if Patrick Cantlay is on the team. I'd like to see Daniel Berger rise up in the rankings.
Yeah, but
I
didn't
think
Keegan
he's
mention
another
that he
fighter.
wants more experience? Like
Who?
he weighs
Yes,
experience
yes.
over less experience?
Yes, of course.
Well, who would be a rookie from this list? Ben Griffin, J.J. Spahn, right? Right now? Those are rookies. Those would be rookies
Yeah.
on the Ryder Cup team. And then Maverick McNeely if he was picked. Although I'm
I
not
don't
sure
have
Russell
Henley
Henley
at a
has
Ryder
played
Cup in my-
in a Ryder Cup. I know
Are you
he's played in
talking
a
Ryder Cup or
I think,
President's
but-
Cup? Is that why you're?
No, I'm talking only exclusively about Ryder Cup because Keegan mentioned the rookie comment, not rookie, but less experience.
Yeah.
And I'm
but,
looking at
I mean,
this list
but,
and I'm wondering.
let's go on the other side.
Does that
I
mean he doesn't want to take a chance with someone who's younger, like an Andrew
How many
Novak?
rookies did Europe have in Rome? If memory serves me, they had like 5, didn't they?
I can confirm that. But yes, I think it was a lot. It was.
But again, I'm not gonna argue with a captain's philosophy when they're captain, because they can do what they want to do. That's the prerogative that goes with it. But all I'm saying is I can't see Keegan going out of the focus regardless, because you're still talking about a player that won this year. Now here's the question I was asking and I haven't got an answer yet. Where is Billy Horschel on the points list?
They had 4 rookies. They had four rookies.
Okay, fair enough.
You're asking for who? Horschel?
Yeah.
Horschel's 26th.
All right, Horschel's 26. If Billy had finished at the Travelers, what do they call it, the videos when you put somebody else's face on a deep fake or whatever? If somebody deep faked it was Billy Horschel instead of Keegan Bradley that finished the way he finished at the Travelers, how many people on social media, and probably the same pundits that are saying that Keegan shouldn't be a playing captain, would be saying, this is why we need Billy Horschel on that wall? Look at the way he finished. He's down 3 on the 15th green, and he ends up winning. Did he need help at the top of the leaderboard? Yeah, he needed help at the top of the leaderboard, but that's what it's about, because it essentially came down to, from that point on, this was match point. You were 2 down. 3 strokes, but eventually 2 down. Wins 16, have 17, wins 18. Right? So that's what I'm talking about.
Points, that brings up the points situation that's sort of maybe impacting this. Andrew, put that graphic.
We can go down this road. We've started, so let's keep rolling.
So yeah, no, the other one, Andrew. Yes, that one. Sorry. So look at this. This is what we were talking about just a little while ago, Matt, about how the point system is a little bit wonky. You've got player A, player B, player A, player B. You can see right there, if you're watching, the difference there. You got 32nd in the standings versus 22nd in the standings, and the corresponding how they're playing. A win, no wins, a good finish at a major, a bad finish at a major, and equal number of top 25s. But one is 10 spots lower. I don't know if that's good, Matt. I'm concerned about that. I'm not sure that system is correct.
So just so I understand what graphic you put up here, these are actual people that you're showing us.
Correct.
And you're saying
yes.
Player A is 32nd in standings, yet Player A has a win this year. They just had a top 8 at the PGA, and they've had 5 top 25s. Versus Player B, who I have to presume is a player that's through prior year performances grandfathered into signature events, is 22nd in the standings, has no wins, was tied for 46 at the Masters, and has 5 top 25s. When you say 22nd standings, we're talking about Ryder Cup points standings, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you're trying to illustrate that because of the way that the FedEx Cup points, or no, it wouldn't be FedEx Cup in this case. It'd be
it's
what
money.
they get paid.
It's money. Andrew, can you put the explainer for the point system? I know this is semi-complicated, but I think it impacts all of this. That's why we keep ending up with the same people on the team.
All right.
And
Let me just
losing.
read this graphic for those that might be listening on the radio side. U.S. Ryder Cup point system. All U.S. players will have the opportunity to earn points beginning in 2024 and concluding in 25 prior to the Tour Championship. The exact date pending final 2025 PGA Tour schedule. Obviously, this was written before that. 2024, 1 point per $1,000 earned for all players making the cut at the Players, the 4 major championships being the Masters, the PGA Championship, U.S. Open, and the Open. 2025. The point system, counting events and values, will be determined, it says at a later date once the 25 PGA Tour schedule has been finalized. Okay. So Ryder Cup Team USA qualifying criteria. 6 players qualify in points and 6 captains picks. Of the 2024 majors, I told you about 1 point for $1,000. 2024 players, 1 point for $1,000. You have to make the cut, obviously, or else you wouldn't get paid. 2025 regular PGA Tour events, 1 point per $1,000 for all players. Those are regular PGA Tour events. 2025 major championships, 1.5 points per $1,000. So the majors in the year of the Ryder Cup are 50% points bonus against the money that you earn for every $1,000. No points for the 2025 opposite field events in the PGA Tour. Points end after the BMW Championship. That's the second event in the FedEx Cup playoffs. Keegan Bradley picks following the Tour Championship. Points ranking does not guarantee qualification for the Ryder Cup. Players must separately meet all eligibility requirements. That little caveat there is for politics.
I know there's a lot of complexity there, but to boil that down into a sentence, the issue that I think may exist from this is that for the signature events, the dollar amount is so much higher than a, quote, regular PGA Tour event that you get so many Ryder Cup points for finishing 19th in the Travelers, and you don't get that many points for finishing third in the John Deere Classic. So the weight is, I think, really a huge disparity.
All right, so go
And
back to
I'm
that
not
graphic
saying
with
that's
player
right
A,
or wrong.
player B.
I'm asking, is that right or wrong? Does that need to be adjusted?
Well, this comes down to, again, Andrew, go back to player A and B graphic, please. That goes back to what I would say all the time with the question of the day and why we ask people their opinion. Because the way it's structured right now, and look, you can't say that the Travelers wasn't an incredible, wild success. It's a signature event, right? Trip Eisenhower was on with us yesterday, has consistently said to me he doesn't like the no-cut events. So instead of having 80 players in the field, you don't have to go to a full field, 156, but how about at least 100? How about 120, right? So you have this opportunity for kind of a lightning in a bottle. Why have that much disparity between one versus the other? Well, the reason why they're doing it, in my view, is so that they can go to media partners, so that they can go to sponsors and go, look, I'm going to give you your stars because it's pretty much a field of stars, right? And that's the direction that the tour is going. And so is there anybody out there clamoring for the guy who's 70th in points right now? I'm talking about keeping your card because they have to be 100 or less. Let's go to a guy who's 85. Dom, look that up for me if you would. Give me names of guys between 80 and 90 that are in there right now, but they're kind of getting close to the bubble.
80 and 90 what? In the FedEx Cup or in the Ryder Cup?
Yeah, it'd be FedEx Cup points. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you have to get inside the top 100. And you can even go up to like 110. Just throw a few names at me. What I'm trying to get at is the way that the system is structured now is to keep the stars there, which means it's kind of a reflection of life from that standpoint, where once you have it, it's easier to keep it than you trying to grind up there and get it. But in this case, it's impacting potentially the Ryder Cup. Because what Dom is talking about, Andrew, I'm going to have you bring that graphic up again, player A or player B. And Dom, while I know you're looking up something else, but you know who player A and B are, go ahead and tell us who these players, if that was your intention. Tell us who player A and B is.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily the intention. I'm just trying to show the disparity. I think if I showed the names, there would be sort of a pre-existing notion that I didn't want anybody to have.
No, I know you're not trying to be biased, but
top,
these are real human beings, so I'm asking you who they are. Give me, on the column left, player A and player B, who are
A in the top left is Joe Highsmith.
Okay.
Player B in the bottom left is Wyndham Clark. Player A in the top right is Andrew Novak.
Yeah, baby.
He's 13th in the standings. Player B in the bottom right is Colin Morikawa. And that goes along with what you were saying, Matt, about sort of the rich get richer and the big names that we're used to hearing from just sort of find themselves at the top of the standings seemingly no matter what they do. And a player like Andrew Novak, who you can see right there, player A in the top right, a win, a second place, 8 top 25s, 4 top 10s. He is, by all statistical accounts, playing better than Colin Morikawa. But he is much further down in the standings. Literally, he's outside of even of a captain's pick territory right now.
No, this is an excellent
Now,
point.
I'm not trying to say this is right or wrong. I'm bringing this to your attention and saying, do we have an issue here?
Well, it comes down to another thing that we've discussed, and I'm not talking about us in this show, but at large, the discussion being, do you want to have a team that has this inherent, whether it's systematic or whether it's by application? Do you want to have a team that's basically an old boys network where you have the same players who are at times, whether it be right now with Colin Morikawa, he's seventh in the standing, he has no wins, does it 2 second-place finishes to his credit, 9 top 25s, whereas Andrew Novak has a win and a second. He has 8 top 25s against 9 for Colin, but he has 4 top 10s against 3 for Colin. And like Dom said, in each particular category, save top 25s, he's in a better position. But he's almost twice as far down the points list. And whether it's Colin Morikawa or not.
Can I just give you an example really quick to get a little bit more specific to talk about what I'm talking about? At the John Deere Classic, if you finish in 4th place, you get $390,000 for 4th place. At the Travelers Championship, you get $960,000 for finishing in 4th place. That's almost triple points when you're talking about converting that by $1,000 to points for the Ryder Cup. So finishing 4th place in 2 different events, it's triple the points for that player at the Travelers Championship. Now, I'm not saying that, I mean, obviously a signature event is, by all accounts, a little bit more important. The field is a little bit stronger. The purse is bigger. All of those things are a reality. They're an elevated event, quote unquote. But triple points seems like a lot, Matt. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the pragmatic effect of that is you're going to get the same group of players again. And I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody individually, but do you want fresh blood? Or is it otherwise the establishment? And all I'm saying is,
you want to hear who's 90 to 110 on this list?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. Yes, just pick out a few.
These are the players on the FedEx Cup standings between like 90 and 110, and the cutoff again to Matt's point this year is 100. So I'm just going to barrel through names: Max McGreevy, Lee Hodges, Chris Gotterup, Andrew Putnam, Victor Perez, Henrik Norlander, Mark Hubbard, Austin Eckroat, Sam Ryder, Zach Johnson, Justin Lower, Kevin Roy, Chris Kirk, Emiliano Grillo, Chan Kim, Brant Snedeker, Vince Whaley, Adam Shank, Ricky Castillo, Ricky Hoey, Jeremy Paul, Michael Thor Bjornsson.
Right. Now, the reason why I had you look up those is to have people search your hearts here for a second. When you're talking about a signature event that by its very nature is structured for the stars of the game, and it's structured for those reasons that I gave you, and the ratings are great, and people are interested and all the rest, right? Because the ratings were up 35% for Keegan's win on the prior year. It connected with people big time. 35% is a huge rating spike. So, okay, do you look at that and go, look, I get it, but the PGA Tour is not a social program. If you want to be viewed as one of the stars, make more putts, and you'll be amongst their ranks. Or do you look at it and go, you know what, you're robbing us of the choice, of the chance to see a lightning in a bottle player. They're still tour players, so how much is it really? But you're robbing us of the chance to see that player that we didn't expect to do as well as they have. So what's the voting coming back right now, Dom?
71% of you are saying that Keegan Bradley should play on his own team. 29% are saying it's a stupid idea. You're all a bunch of idiots. That's what they're saying.
So how did you phrase it?
I'm
just curious if you really said, should he do it, or is it a
Bradley
stupid
play on his own Ryder Cup team?
Okay. Yes or no?
You don't like the phrasing of my question?
I'm
Yeah,
asking
yes or
it
no.
what it
Of course
was.
yes or
Yeah, I
no.
want to see, because sometimes you phrase it in a biased way.
The hell? How could I
It'd be
How can I
like,
phrase
do you
that in
think
a
that Keegan
biased
Bradley
way?
should be on his team in order for the U.S. team to win? Or B, do you think he shouldn't be on his team and guaranteeing they lose?
So, final thought. Again, I don't have an opinion. I just think it's interesting with this divide. In your opinion, is this an issue? Does this need to be addressed, or this is just what it is and it's fine?
No, I guess what I'm struggling with is, and this is probably a lot bigger than just golf, but how and why do people, the pundits, I guess, to put it that way, where do they come up with this group consensus from? That apparently with pointed fingers, we're all supposed to adopt because it was handed down from on high, that this is somehow a bad idea. Why? Because I haven't heard a really strong argument yet. I've heard people say, well, 2025 isn't 1963. Okay. He's also got a cadre of vice captains to help along the way. You've got an organization behind it. If something is too burdensome in terms of time or occupation, have one of your other people do it. Hand off a lot of it. Hand off nearly all of it. Someone said the other day, well,
what about the point system? Where do you stand on that?
It comes down to the bigger question of signature events. I don't like that signature events don't have a cut. I think the signature event should be broader and open. I think that to limit a signature event because you want to ensure that the stars are hanging around, the stars will always be towards the top of the leaderboard. They may not be the stars that you want, but the big names are big names because of their performance. Save for a few that get every sponsor's exemption, like Ricky, who's not playing that well, but he's very popular. But I thought this wasn't about just popularity. So yes, they need to figure that out. There needs to be a better balance between those two. But then you need to have a reason that a signature event is a signature event. If you make the other events the same as a signature event or close, it doesn't hold that same distinction for aspiration. So it's not an easy answer. But as far as the signature events go, I can tell you I agree with Tripp. I don't like that they're non-cut. I don't think that's keeping in the spirit of how the PGA Tour structured their events, not the least of which was that's the very thing that they complained about, one of the very things they complained about with LIV, scoffing that it's a no-cut event. Your signature events are no-cut events.
Well, I think it all comes down to TV, Matt. They're trying to maximize eyeballs on the end product for golf.
And can you argue with it when they're up by 35% this past weekend?
No, but I think that as a sport, we are overestimating our superstars. I think to the general sports public, the list of superstars is on one hand. And the ratings will spike when one of those five does something spectacular.
Or will the ratings spike because it is a compelling story?
No, I don't agree with that. I don't think that that's true. I think if you have two people that are 85th and 97th in the standings battling down the stretch of a tournament, I don't think that's not going to get eyeballs.
That's why I asked you those names.
It's got to be one of the five people.
So if you picked one of those two people of the list that you gave me, it still wouldn't cause a 35% spike, even if they're trading, haymakers down the stretch.
Wait, you lost me. Say that again. You're saying if one of the two people is the five people?
No, the 80 to 100 list or whatever you picked from. If you picked two of those guys and replaced Tommy Fleetwood and Keegan Bradley this past weekend, everything else remains the exact same, the performance, all the rest. Would we still get a spike in viewership?
This is a terrible answer, but the answer is no, we wouldn't. That's the real answer.